Stop number 10 on the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour, Heat 8 of round 1, hitting the lineup. Italo Ferreira, the Brazilian rookie sensation, going up against Australia's Joel Parkinson. And the USA's Brett Simpson. Should be a fantastic clash. We're just on 27.5 minutes remaining. This wave ridden during the break.
Wow, Joel Parkinson, again, another 2-pound on tour, found himself a nice pocket. So perfect precision, like the way he gauged that barrel perfectly behind it, and then was able to fit in not only a cutback, but a finishing maneuver. So, I mean, that is a dream start. We talked about how the waves out here, they can really, really elude you. You know, there's a lot of waves out here that just kind of close out on a sandbar. So Joel, he is going to be more than psyched with that start.
There. So he's had a bit of a struggle, but this wave also during the break.
Brett popping a big reverse out into the flats. How clean was that? Transitioned it right into a closeout maneuver. So 2 solid moves for Brett. So he'll also be really engaged. He'll be psyched on this start. But when he hears the number drop from Joel Parkinson, that's going to be a little bit deflating, but nonetheless, an 8-pointer for Brett. His choices at the last second. That's his comfort zone. Well,
out in the lineup in heat number 8, Brett Simpson looking for another decent number as he races across this left-hander. Big backside float. He'll stomp that. Throws his board up for the finish, but doesn't quite get there.
Brett Simpson from Southern California, Huntington Beach. He's used to these types of waves. You know, Newport Beach actually looks a lot like this on your screen right here.
Wearing that red jersey. And here he goes, driving off the bottom. He'll whip that tail. Maybe the knee coming into play. It's not often you see Italo fall on turns like that.
Priority close, second wide.
And now out the back. Priority goes to Joel Parkinson, who's looking to back up an 9.5 and move into the lead. He only needed a .83. He'll get it with that ride, and he will jump into the number 1 position.
More foam than I usually ride, and it's a squash tail, which I usually ride round tails. So, but yeah, you know, about that heat though, I think Ace had the wave to win that heat. He fell on it, that left barrel. I mean, I'm sure he would have probably got a 7 or whatever he would have needed then, and I would have been struggling to find a wave at the end. So, kind of went my way.
We're always so interested in how you break down your heats and also how you break down your season. I know that this season has been a bit different for you, and you were talking about finding, a new way of looking at maybe competing or surfing. Is that what the season is about for you, or when you round it up in your head, what are the takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, anything you do for a long time, it's you're always trying to find ways to make it feel new and fresh, and I've been kind of diving into different boards this year, just trying out different shapers and that kind of thing. So that's one aspect.
As we move into the event window, but during that interview, Italo Ferreira had this ride.
Well, not shying away from his aggression. I mean, that guy goes for, the craziest move on every wave, and that was a big air rotation into the flat, so obviously he's not worried about his knee. Brett Simpson, watch this turn right here. That was sick. A big old tail chuck right in front of Italo's face. I love Brett's style, too. We talk about Joel's style a lot. Brett has an amazing style. So a pretty solid backup there for Brett. We'll see if he can get in a mix. But Joel Parkinson trying to get rid of that 3.17. He's for sure done that. So he's starting to tighten the screws.
Shaky throughout the year. And here he goes. Let's see if he can get going on this one. Still generating plenty of speed. And he takes to the air. And he almost rides out of that one. His strike rate with those backside air reverses, though, is usually right up there in the 90s. So surprised that he hasn't pulled one.
Into it.
Well, here we go, Italo Ferreira with speed. And he throws a big, swift rotation alley-oop, but can't stick it.
Gotta love Italo. He is just batting for the fences right now. He's going definitely for the knockout punch, and you know what? I don't blame him. When you hear a 9.5 dropped against you, you gotta go big. Into it.
Well, here we go, Italo Ferreira with speed. And he throws a big, swift rotation alley-oop, but can't stick it.
Gotta love Italo. He is just batting for the fences right now. He's going definitely for the knockout punch, and you know what? I don't blame him. When you hear a 9.5 dropped against you, you gotta go big.
Well, let's see Brett Simpson's last ride again on the replay here.
Nice snap right there, keeping the flow up. So 2 maneuvers, but that maneuver was wild. That was one of the best turns I've seen this afternoon. So a nice closeout re-entry there. 7.17. Just the 2 moves. I think the judge is keeping it under 8 because the wave wasn't big and he only had 2 maneuvers. But for me, that was definitely excellent surfing. So, you know, I wouldn't have been bummed if I saw an 8-pointer thrown at that thing. But again, so for Brett, if he hears that score, he's going to have to be a little more selective and look for that bomb.
Well, here we go. Italo, keep him busy with our priority on the inside, and again takes to the air. And he sticks this one and gets a little finish as well. So starting to find that rhythm above the lip. Well, here we go. Italo, keep him busy with our priority on the inside, and again takes to the air. And he sticks this one and gets a little finish as well. So starting to find that rhythm above the lip. Riding out of that one. How do you think it'll score with the judges though, Ross?
Well, I think it's somewhat comparable to Brett's wave. You know, 2 nice turns. This, obviously the error was the major. I love how much pop he had out of it. We'll take another look at it and really dissect it. I think it's going to get him back in the heat. You know, obviously he's comboed right now, so he needs something big. Nice projection. Got the grab in there and slid out of it. A little slow, sliding out of the reverse. You know, the judges will go big if you go out into the flats.
Live action now. Brett Simpson up again and chasing that 7.34. Fighting hard. Joel Parkinson in a dominant position, starting this heat with a 9.5 for a deep barrel ride. Spent a bit of time on the foam ball inside the pit. Came out and threw a couple of turns down as well. And he also found a reasonable backup, a 5.83. Italo taken off, just tucking into a closeout barrel there.
So again, if Italo had gone full rotation on that air, then for sure we'd be looking at a possible excellent score. But because he had to kind of reverse out of it, that's what I think the judges will, you know, keep it in that maybe 7 range or even high 6. We'll see.
Italo Ferreira, he made the semis in Brazil. As we see, Simpo on the replay there, just didn't really get that third maneuver option on the inside.
Well, Brett is switched on. I really like what I'm seeing right now. That Timmy Stamp surfboard's looking really fresh under his feet. He's getting around those tricky, tight sections. So he is far from out of this heat.
12 minutes remaining. I mentioned the CT history for Italo and Brett Simpson. Neither of them have made a CT final yet. Joel Parkinson, he surfed in 27 for 12 victories. As we see, Italo up again with speed. He has that pop, and it is a tidy finish for the 21-year-old. I love it when you just see surfers on the championship tour like Italo who are just thinking air from the moment they get to their feet. He just accelerated, got as much speed as he could.
How's his knee looking?
His knee's looking...
It's getting better.
I think he might be doing the Kelly and running on adrenaline a little bit.
Right.
It looked a little tender on his first couple of waves. Italo Ferreira, he made the semis in Brazil. As we see, Simpo on the replay there, just didn't really get that third maneuver option on the inside.
Well, Brett is switched on. I really like what I'm seeing right now. That Timmy Stamp surfboard's looking really fresh under his feet. He's getting around those tricky, tight sections. So he is far from out of this heat.
12 minutes remaining. I mentioned the CT history for Italo and Brett Simpson. Neither of them have made a CT final yet. Joel Parkinson, he surfed in 27 for 12 victories. As we see, Italo up again with speed. He has that pop, and it is a tidy finish for the 21-year-old. I love it when you just see surfers on the championship tour like Italo who are just thinking air from the moment they get to their feet. He just accelerated, got as much speed as he could.
How's his knee looking?
His knee's looking...
It's getting better.
I think he might be doing the Kelly and running on adrenaline a little bit.
Right.
It looked a little tender on his first couple of waves.
I just love how he is such a honey badger. He just battles through every heat. Watch the pop. Watch how high he gets. Bang. And now a little more rotation, a little higher. Again, that technical grab mid-air. He definitely rode out of that thing. So, you know, this could be a bigger score. 6.6 for that last air, but this one's much higher. More pop. Got that tail hammering towards the beach. I love that landing too, how he landed on top of the lip and rode out of it clean.
Unbelievable, the tail goes underwater and he's still able to pull that rotation around. It's going to be a decent number, really small. But with a special kind of wave, a surfer like Joel can surf beautifully and combine great barrel riding with big turns. But I love that, the excitement factor with surfers like Italo just jamming away now on the backhand. Has a nice little sand bottom right-hand point break to work out his backhand approach at home. And it served him well on the championship tour, collecting big finishes on the Gold Coast. Won that world title showdown against Fanning and Kelly Slater. And has had a couple of decent years since then, but 2015 has been a nightmare. It's won that world title showdown against Fanning and Kelly Slater. And has had a couple of decent years since then, but 2015 has been a nightmare. Started with a really disappointing result on the Gold Coast. He had a 13th there. You just don't expect to see that from Joel. And it's kind of been up and down since, as we see Brett Simpson finding some cover. He gets a decent barrel. Out onto the open face, a transition turn to meet the closeout section with a clean hit. And he likes it. You can just see from Simpo that there's just moments of frustration. It's starting to eat away at him, the fact that he just can't get the win in some of these early round heats.
Little thump to the heart right there. So a couple of claims from Brett. And you know what? The most important thing about that wave just then is he was able to fit in 2 maneuvers after the barrel, just like Joel Parkinson's. Now, the barrel wasn't quite as clean as Joel's, but he only needs a 7.34. Well, let's take another look and see how clean this barrel is. Watch his shoulder line as he pulls in. He hardly touched there just until he broke through to come out. So definitely a solid barrel. Nice little climb and a good finish there for Brett Simpson. So, you know, if I had to take a guess, he's going to get it.
I love it. Well, Simpson is fired up, and here is another angle of that wave. As you said, Ross did well to just be completely untouched until the final stages of that barrel ride.
And that's a testament to how throaty that barrel was. You know, it wasn't a cheeky little shampoo where, you know, you're going for a head dip. That was a proper pit. And he came out with a lot of speed. Again, a tricky wave. You can see that wave losing its energy on that sandbar on the inside. Very smart right there for Brett, keeping that speed up. And then because he kept that flow on that first maneuver, he had that closeout re-entry to finish.
Results based on their mental game.
Oh, 100%. Every sport has that story.
Well, here we go. Italo Ferreira getting wild.
Whoa.
Doesn't ride out of that turn. Just over 2.5 minutes to go. Italo needs an 8.14. Joel Parkinson was pushed back to second spot by Brett Simpson. And he needs a 6.63, so Joel can still turn this heat in the final stages. Both surfers can.
The deal, but now that it's a little more calm and slower, I think, you know, Brett could cause trouble with that party. As we see that tube ride, Ronnie, 9.5 from Joel. And, you know, give him credit. He found a couple of little waves. He stayed busy, got a 5.83 to back it up right there. And, you know, he kept himself in the lead for a majority of the heat.
Really clean surfing from Joel. But Brett Simpson just a little bit more aggressive with a couple of his rides. Digging in there. That one didn't even go into his top 2, a 7.17. He was still in second place at this point. Italo Ferreira got himself back in the heat with a huge frontside air reverse. Rode out clean despite a nasty knee injury free surfing earlier today. Brett Simpson finished off this wave beautifully for an 8.13 and the heat lead. Joel Parkinson with 30 seconds to go, chasing a 6.63.
For Joel here.
He's having a look. He's going left. Needs to do something special to convert this into big points. A couple of backhand floaters won't do it. He bashes the end section. Clean surfing, but just needed some major maneuvers there on that occasion as Simpo brings his wave through to the inside. And this heat's coming to a close.
This is really impressive. It's one of the better heats I've seen performed by Brett Simpson there. He had that air reverse into the flats, his first wave, that 8, and then he had that beautiful tail slide that didn't even go into his top 2 and got a barrel. So, you know, this is a great heat win for him.
Huge finishes in these last 2 events to get himself into the lead. We're waiting on scores to come through for Joel Parkinson, but it came through at a 4.6, and Brett Simpson, he's going to take the win and move directly through to round 3. Italo Ferreira, he can hold his head up high despite that injury, put some big aerials together. It was a solid performance.